So samplers turned out to be a massive creative boost for my music. The trade-off is that they give up a lot of things that computers and DAWs are actually really great at. So instead of trying to replace my sampler, I decided to try experimenting with adding an iPad. And I think I accidentally stumbled into one of my favorite workflows. Not because the iPad replaced my sampler. Instead, every stage of making music gives it one job. So let me show you what I mean. So the iPad's first job is sound design and sample building. I want to flip my own samples, so we're gonna use the iPad to do synths, drums, all that. And what's great about an iPad is that you can use individual apps, like I have this Mini Moog app open right now, but we can also use all the different apps we own in one thing, like a DAW. We're gonna use Logic Pro for iPad. And while it's a DAW, we're not going into it thinking of it as our all-in-one machine where we're gonna compose, arrange, build the song. All it's doing is one job here, sound design. That works perfectly. Now what's great here is that we're using this for sound design, so we can go in and add all kinds of effects. So we get all these nice things that a DAW allows, but without having to build it in this boring screen and all that stuff. And what's also great about this is if you really like sound design and going as deep as you can into oscillators, LFOs, envelopes, you can do that, but you can also just use presets. So let me just show you that real quick. We'll just go into a stock Logic for iPad thing, Alchemy. All right, I messed up a little bit there, but I'm gonna see if quantize and going in and actually just adjusting via the MIDI. Let's try 8 notes. I'm gonna add a couple more things here, a bass and a drum. I'll just speed through this in the edit because it's the same application. Find sounds you like, add effects, and then I'll show you how we're gonna move it to the sampler. So one thing I've found as I've used this setup is I really don't like using the built-in keyboard on the tablet or on the iPad. It's functional, but it's just really not that great. You can't get a lot of solid velocity. It's very variable. So what I found is pairing it with a small MIDI controller has really opened up the possibilities and the performance capabilities of this setup. And this video is sponsored by Synido and the TempoKey K32 Play. Since this workflow starts with creating sounds and musical ideas, having an actual keyboard makes a huge difference over trying to play everything directly on the touchscreen. The TempoKey Play is a compact MIDI controller with velocity sensitive keys, assignable controls, and Bluetooth MIDI support, which is what we're actually using today. Being able to play this not connected to anything, it's just wireless, which is awesome. One thing I wasn't expecting though is that it has its own built-in sound. So sometimes if I don't even want to use the iPad or just stick with my sampler only workflow, I have a bunch of built-in drums and synth sounds right here in this small little form factor. So this has really made the iPad a lot more enjoyable and solved my biggest issue with this setup, which was this silly little touchscreen capability. I've left Synido's official link in the description. But now that we've created the ingredients, we need to move everything into the SP. So I'm gonna move things around a little bit and we'll talk about that and then make the beat with all of these samples. So now I've got all of the sounds that I want. So all we need to do, because this is connected via USB, is just make sure external source is on, hit record, and if we have it set to wait, which I do, the BPM is locked in, 145. We can actually set the amount of measures we want to record. So I'm gonna do 4 because this is 4 bars, and then I'm just gonna solo these. There's other means of doing this, but I like this way because you can add additional effects if you wanted to add some lo-fi or Juno chorus, things like that. I wouldn't recommend adding reverb and delays because if you're setting a measure, those things have reverb and delay tails, so they'll keep going after the bars end. And that's gonna cut off in this. And then when you sample, you'll get pops and clicks. So I would avoid that. We'll add that later in the bus effects. And then we just let it run for the 4 bars. Now we're gonna start making the beat. And I'm gonna add some hi-hats. So we're gonna do something a little wonky here. Okay, so now that we've got the drums laid out, we can record on top. Let's take this little sound, right? And I think the first thing I want to do is chop this up. And let's do auto mark, and we'll do a time division of 8. Thinking we may be able to repitch those. But for now, let's play this on top and see what we've got. So first thing I can hear is there's a lot of clicks and pops. So we're going to go into the envelope. And if we hold remain, we can actually do it to everything. So we're gonna just add a little attack and a little release. That should work. And then we'll add some Kodama. Let's reverse all of these. Okay, I hear something. Let's get those drums on. Yeah, I like that. Let's record that. There we go. See, this is why I like to use the sampler instead of a DAW, right? There's this tactile response. You can actually make changes and feel those changes and just adjust knobs, move things around. You can do all this in a DAW. There's no denying that. But there's something special about the limitations and actually making changes, moving things around. I would not have thought to like reverse this and move things around and do that. So there's just, it gets me out of that kind of like screen analysis, you know? Let's drop the pitch. I can just hear it would sound so good with a pitch drop. Now you'll notice the BPM actually changes because we have speed and pitch set together. Now, of course, what that means is that all of our chords and our bass don't fit anymore. So we have to account for that, and we'll probably have to chop all of them. I want to do a little sound design to this sample. We're gonna throw it through lo-fi. And then on bus 2, we'll put the isolator. That ride is so loud. Ah, that's gonna bug me. We're gonna resample this. And on this one, we're actually going to take the pitch and speed off from being linked. There. And so there's all kinds of artifacting with that. Really quiet in the mix, it just does something. Now this one, definitely going to chop up because I want to drop the pitch as well. So let's go into chop. We're going to just chop that into 4. And now we're gonna need the bass. We definitely don't want the bass on bus 1. So let's get those off. I'm also thinking we need a little attack, little release. Now let's put that special sauce that the SP404 has, which is cassette sim and 303 on the master. And now it should be a lot louder, but glue everything together a little bit. And then we could do things like maybe shift reverse. So this is the part of the workflow I enjoy the most. Big surprise, everything we do on the channel revolves around sampling. Bringing everything into the sampler is what I love, but I want to design my own sounds, right? And that's where the DAW comes into play. But there is still the other half of music making, and that's arranging the beat and making it. And so what I typically do from here is actually build the song by taking a single pattern and moving the pattern over, but only taking specific sounds. So it starts with the bass and the drums, and then it goes into the pads. Right, and so on and so forth, and we build the song there. So from there, we've got the full arrangement, but I still want to jam on top of it, either with live instruments or with some effects and things like that. And then I still usually want to mix a little bit more. Maybe the bass is too loud here, but I don't want to worry about it while jamming. I want to just be in the flow state and jam. We can have our cake and eat it too, because we can send the full sound directly back into the iPad, and from there we can stem split. If we need to rearrange things at all, we can do that. And if you want to see how I then add additional layers on top of it with MIDI and leads and all sorts of things like that, check out this video next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.